My name is Madison Howell. I'm 35 years old, a single mother to my 8-year-old daughter Lily. For as long as I can remember, my own parents have told everyone I'm mentally unstable, delusional, and a danger to my own child. They made sure the whole family believed it. At the will reading, my father stood up, looked me in the face, and said with a smile, "This is perfect. At least the farm will keep her away from decent people." My brother Carson laughed as he received the keys to a $3 million Manhattan penthouse, while I was handed a rotting 320-acre farm in rural Pennsylvania, a place they openly called the trash heap she deserves. They thought they had finally buried me for good. But the second I slammed open that farmhouse door and saw what my grandfather had hidden inside for me, their entire lifetime of lies went up in flames. Before we begin, if you're already feeling the anger I felt that day, take a second right now to like this video and subscribe. It really helps these stories reach more people. And drop a single word in the comments. Truth. I want to know how many of you are watching and have ever been labeled crazy by your own family. Now, let's go back to the moment I opened that farmhouse door. The conference room at Morrison & Klein law offices smelled like leather and old money. Mahogany table, high-backed chairs, windows overlooking downtown Philadelphia. The kind of place where families come to divide estates like they're carving up a Sunday roast. I sat at one end of the table. My father, I still called him that then, sat at the other, flanked by my mother and my brother Carson. They'd arrived 30 minutes early. A power move. The receptionist had given me a look when I walked in. Sympathy mixed with pity. She knew who I was, the unstable one. The attorney, a man named Gerald Morrison, cleared his throat and opened a leather portfolio. 23 pages. I counted. My grandfather Thomas's will. "Mr. Howell left very specific instructions," Morrison began. His voice was careful, practiced. "The estate has been divided between his 2 grandchildren." Carson leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. He already knew what was coming. They all did. This reading was just theater. "To Carson Howell, Jr., Morrison read, I leave my property at 420 East 72nd Street, New York, New York. A penthouse condominium, fully furnished, current market value approximately $3 million. In addition, a stock portfolio valued at $120,000 and cash assets of $50,000. My father smiled, reached over and squeezed Carson's shoulder. "Well-deserved, son." Carson didn't even look at me, just pulled out his phone and started scrolling. Morrison turned a page. His eyes flicked to mine. Just for a second. "And to Madison Howell," he continued, "I leave my property located at 1247 Rural Route 9, Chester County, Pennsylvania. 320 acres, including the main farmhouse, barn, and outbuildings. Property tax assessment values the estate at approximately $380,000, with current back taxes owed of $14,200. Silence. My mother made a small sound. Something between a sigh and a laugh. "At least it's something she can manage," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Simple. Carson looked up from his phone, smirked. "Need help cleaning it out, Maddie? Might be worth selling for parts." I didn't answer. Morrison slid a single key across the table. Old brass, tarnished. It stopped 6 inches from my hand. "Mr. Howell requested that you visit the property within 30 days, Morrison said. He was looking at me now. Really looking. Alone. He was quite insistent about that detail. My father stood, straightened his tie. "This is appropriate," he announced to the room, to Morrison, to whoever would listen. "Given her limitations?" My mother reached over and patted my hand. The gesture was supposed to look kind. It wasn't. I took the key, said nothing, walked out. The marble floors of the law firm echoed under my sneakers as I pushed through the heavy glass doors. My phone was already buzzing. 3 missed calls from my sister-in-law. I answered on the 4th ring, keeping my voice steady. "Lily, okay?" "She's fine," came the reply, "but she keeps asking if we're moving again." I swallowed the lump in my throat. Another move. Another basement apartment that smelled of mildew and broken promises, with only $1,830 in my checking account and a Civic that might not survive another winter. The idea of dragging my 8-year-old daughter to a rotting farm felt like one more failure piled on top of 35 years of them. But staying in Upper Darby meant staying under their thumb. I couldn't do that anymore. Not to Lily, not to myself. In my car, I sat in the parking garage for 7 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, engine off. Then I screamed once, just once. Let it all out into the empty space. Then silence. I started the car and drove back to my sister-in-law's basement, where Lily was waiting. The drive to the farm took an hour and 18 minutes, 52 miles through Pennsylvania countryside that would have been beautiful if I'd had any capacity left to notice. Lily sat in the passenger seat of my 2019 Honda Civic, watching videos on a tablet with cracked screen. The check engine light had been on for 3 weeks. I'd been ignoring it, adding it to the list of things I'd deal with when I had money, when I had time, when I had anything. "Mom?" "Yeah, baby? How long are we staying at the farm?" I didn't have an answer. My savings account had $1,830 in it. We'd been living in my ex-husband Derek's sister's basement for 18 months. Rent-free, but temporary. The kind of temporary that crushes you a little more every day. "We'll see," I said. "Could be an adventure." Lily didn't look convinced. She was 8, but she'd learned to read me better than I could read myself. The GPS took us off the highway onto smaller roads. 2 lanes, then 1. Trees pressing in on both sides. I almost missed the turn. Rural Route 9 wasn't marked. Just a gravel driveway that disappeared into overgrown brush. The farmhouse appeared like something out of a horror movie. Sagging porch, shutters hanging at angles, paint peeling in long strips. The barn behind it looked like a strong wind would flatten it. Weeds had consumed what used to be a front yard. 320 acres stretched out beyond the house, invisible in the late afternoon shadows. I put the car in park, turned off the engine. Lily stared through the windshield. "Are we really staying here? Just for a little while? It looks like nobody loved this place." The observation hit harder than it should have. I didn't have a response. We got out. I had 2 suitcases in the trunk. Everything we owned that mattered fit in 2 suitcases. That fact alone was its own kind of humiliation. The front door was original. 1960s hardware, paint worn down to bare wood in places. I fit the brass key into the lock. It turned smoothly. Too smoothly. Someone had oiled it recently. The door swung open. A soft, unexpected puff of lemon-scented cleaner met us instead of the musty odor I had braced for. The floorboards didn't groan under my weight. Someone had clearly swept them recently. Lily's small hand tightened in mine. "Mom, it doesn't smell like a scary movie," she whispered, half awed. I flipped the light switch out of habit and actually laughed when the overhead fixture came on. Electricity. Running water when I turned the kitchen tap. The place wasn't luxurious, but it was clean, maintained, almost waiting. For the first time in months, the knot of dread in my chest loosened just a fraction. Whoever had been taking care of this trash heap had done it with care. That small act of kindness from beyond the grave almost undid me right there in the doorway. Inside, the house wasn't what I expected. Clean. Furniture covered with white sheets, hardwood floors swept. The air smelled stale but not moldy, not abandoned. Someone had been maintaining this place. Lily walked in behind me, her footsteps echoing. "It smells like old books," she said. "Grandpa loved books." I hadn't meant to say it out loud. Hadn't meant to call him Grandpa. He'd been dead for 8 months, and I hadn't been allowed at the funeral. "It would upset the family," my father had said. Translation: "You're not wanted." The kitchen was at the back of the house. Yellow linoleum from another era, a table in the center, and on that table, a single white envelope. My name. Written in handwriting I recognized from birthday cards I'd received as a child, before they stopped coming. Thomas's handwriting. I picked up the envelope. My hands were shaking. "Mom?" Lily was halfway up the stairs. "Can I pick a bedroom?" "Sure, baby. Pick whichever one you want." I waited until I heard her footsteps above me. Then I opened the letter. The paper was thick, expensive. The kind of stationery that meant something. "Madison, if you're reading this, you came. I wasn't sure you would. They've done everything they could to keep us apart. I let them. That's my greatest regret. Check the bedroom closet. My bedroom. Third board from the left wall. You'll understand everything. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you while I was alive, but you deserve to know who you really are. Dad." I read the last word 3 times. Dad. Not Grandpa Thomas, not grandfather. Dad. I folded the letter, put it back in the envelope, set it on the table. Dad. The single word punched the air out of my lungs. I gripped the table edge until my knuckles went white. 35 years of being told I was too sensitive, too dramatic, not quite right, suddenly snapped into focus like a broken mirror finally showing the truth. Thomas, my real father, had been right there the whole time, watching them erase him from my life while I called another man Dad. Memories crashed over me. The summer I was 10, when he taught me to plant sunflowers behind this house and said, "These always turn toward the light, Madison, just like you." The way he'd slip me an extra $5 bill for ice cream when my parents weren't looking. All those quiet kindnesses I'd been trained to dismiss as just Grandpa being weird. Upstairs, Lily's footsteps pattered across the floorboards as she explored. I couldn't let her grow up carrying the same weight of lies I had. Whatever came next, the safe, the truth, the inevitable war with the people I once called family, I would face it for her. For both of us. I wiped my eyes, squared my shoulders, and started up the stairs. Then I walked upstairs like I was moving through water. Thomas's bedroom was at the end of the hall. Door half open. Inside, the furniture was simple. A bed, a dresser, a closet with sliding doors. Lily was in the room across the hall, unpacking her stuffed animals onto a bare mattress. "I like this one," she called. "It has a window seat." "That's perfect, honey." I closed Thomas's door behind me, knelt down in the closet. The floorboards were old pine, worn smooth by decades. I counted from the left wall. 1, 2, 3. The third board looked the same as all the others, but when I pressed on one end, it lifted. Not much, just enough. Beneath it was a space about 2 feet square, and inside that space was a safe, fireproof, digital lock, the kind you see in movies. I stared at it for a full minute before I tried the combination that made sense. My birth date, October 25th, 1991. October 25th, 1991. I tried it forward. The lock beeped. Red light. I tried it backward. 1991, 25, 10. The lock beeped twice. Green light. The door clicked open. Inside were folders, documents, a USB drive, and on top of everything, a manila envelope labeled in Thomas's neat handwriting, "Open first." I pulled it out. My hands were still shaking. Worse now. The envelope wasn't sealed, just tucked closed. I opened it. The first thing I saw was a lab report. LabCorp logo in the corner. Date: March 2024. Less than a year ago. Paternity test results. Alleged father: Thomas Howell. Child: Madison Ann Howell. Conclusion: 99.97% probability of paternity. I stopped breathing. Read it again. 99.97% probability. Thomas Howell, father. Beneath the lab report was a birth certificate, but not the one I'd seen before. This one was different. Older. State of Pennsylvania seal in the corner. My name. My birth date. Father: unknown. Mother: Eleanor Walsh. My mother's maiden name. I pulled out the second birth certificate. The one I knew. The official one that had been filed when I was 6 months old. The one I'd used for everything my whole life. Father: Carson Howell Sr. The same name. Different documents. Underneath both certificates was a handwritten note on Thomas's personal stationery. I am your biological father. Your mother and I had an affair in 1990. It lasted 8 months. Carson Sr., my son, your legal father, is actually your half-brother. He discovered the truth when you were 12. He forced me out of your life, threatened to have me declared incompetent, take the farm. I thought about fighting, but he said he'd use you as a weapon, make it ugly, hurt you in the process. I couldn't risk that. So I stayed away, and I waited, and I saved everything. You are my daughter. You always were. I'm sorry I couldn't say it while I was alive. I sat on the closet floor, the note in my lap, the birth certificate scattered around me. My hands shook so badly I had to set the papers down. The official birth certificate I'd used my entire life listed Carson Howell Sr. as my father. The older one, the real one, listed father unknown. The DNA test was dated just 9 months ago. Thomas must have saved my baby tooth for decades. 99.97% ironclad. All the years of therapy appointments I never asked for. The "you're being paranoid" lectures whenever I pointed out I didn't look like anyone on my father's side. The way my mother would change the subject when I asked about Grandpa Thomas's wife, Catherine. It was never love. It was damage control. Lily called down from the hallway. "Mom, can I pick the room with the window seat?" Her voice was so full of innocent excitement it nearly broke me. I couldn't fall apart. Not yet. If my so-called family found out how much I now knew, they might try to paint me as unstable again. Maybe even question my ability to care for Lily. The thought sent ice through my veins. No. This time, I would be ready. I carefully placed every document back inside the safe, closed the lid, and whispered to the empty room. "I see you now, Dad. And I'm not running anymore." I checked my phone. 6:47 p.m. I'd been sitting there for 43 minutes. Lily called from downstairs. "Mom, can I have a snack?" "Sure, baby," I answered. My voice didn't sound like my own. "Whatever you can find in the kitchen." I heard her footsteps on the stairs, the sound of cabinets opening, the refrigerator door. I kept sitting there, staring at the documents, at the DNA test, at the truth my family had spent 35 years burying. Thomas Howell wasn't my grandfather. He was my father, and the man I'd called Dad my entire life was actually my half-brother. I don't know how long I sat there. Long enough that the light through the window shifted. Long enough that Lily came back upstairs and asked if I was okay. "I'm fine," I lied. "Just tired." "Can we get pizza?" "Tomorrow. Tonight we'll just eat whatever we can find." She accepted this without argument. She'd learned not to expect much. That fact made me angrier than everything else combined. I put the documents back in the safe, closed it, slid the floorboard into place. Then I went downstairs and heated up a can of soup I found in the pantry. Expiration date: August 2025. The month Thomas died. He'd stocked the kitchen before he passed, made sure we'd have food. Even in death, he'd been taking care of me. We ate at the kitchen table. Lily talked about the room she'd chosen, about the window seat, about how maybe we could get curtains. I nodded at the right times, made the right sounds. Inside, my mind was spinning. After dinner, I got Lily ready for bed, read her a story from a book we'd brought, tucked her in under a blanket that smelled like storage. "Mom?" she said, voice already sleepy. "Is this our house now?" "I don't know yet, baby. I like it. It's quiet." She was asleep within minutes. I walked back downstairs, stood in the kitchen. The letter was still on the table where I'd left it. Dad, I picked it up, reread it. Then I went back upstairs, back to the closet, back to the safe. I pulled out everything, laid it on the bedroom floor. There were more folders, more documents. Estate assets. For Madison only. I opened it. Inside was an appraisal, independent, dated June 2024, 2 months before Thomas died. Subject property, 320 acres, Chester County, Pennsylvania current. Zoning, agricultural tax assessment value, $380,000. Market value, $4,200,000. 4.2 million. Not worthless. Not trash. $4 million. Attached to the appraisal was a note. The farm is 8 miles from West Chester, which is expanding rapidly. Current zoning allows for subdivision into 160 residential lots. Conservative estimate, $4.2 million. Aggressive estimate, $5.8 million. The tax assessor thinks this is a farm. The developers know it's a gold mine. I made sure you'd know both. I kept reading. Next folder. Stock portfolio. Vanguard account. Thomas Howell, transfer on death to Madison Howell. Current value, $1,620,000. Next, savings account. Citizens Bank. Joint account, Thomas Howell and Madison Howell, added June 2024. Balance, $850,000. Next, life insurance policy, $500,000. Beneficiary Madison Howell. Taken out in 2020, 6 years of premiums paid. I did the math in my head. Property, $4.2 million. Stocks, $1.62 million. Cash, $850,000. Insurance, $500,000. Total, $7.17 million. My brother had gotten a penthouse worth $3 million. I'd gotten $7 million. And they had no idea. There was a post-it note stuck to the deed. They took 35 years from us. Don't let them take this. I should have felt relief. Joy. Something positive. Instead, I felt rage. Quiet. Cold. The kind that settles in your bones and stays there. I kept pulling documents out of the safe. Next folder. Recordings. A USB drive. 8 audio files. Each one labeled with a date. 2003, 2007, 2010, 2015, 2021, 2023, 2024. I went downstairs, found my laptop in one of the suitcases, came back up, sat on the bedroom floor and plugged in the drive. The first file was dated June 2003. Audio quality was rough, like it had been recorded on an old device. But the voices were clear enough. "If you ever tell her, I'll destroy you." My father's voice, Carson Sr., younger but recognizable. "She's not yours to tell." Thomas's voice, quieter. "She's my daughter. Legally, she's mine. You signed away your rights." "I never signed anything." "Then I'll forge it. And who will they believe? The senile old man or the respected banker?" Silence. Birds chirping in the background. They'd been outside. Somewhere private. "She looks just like Catherine," Thomas said. His voice was breaking. "How can you look at her and lie?" "Easily. The recording ended. I sat there, stared at the laptop screen. They'd known since I was 12. Since 2003. They'd known, and they'd cut Thomas out of my life to keep the secret buried. I clicked the second file. November 2007. My voice. Younger. 16 years old. Why don't I look like anyone in this family? You look like your mother, sweetheart. I don't. I pulled out old photos. I don't look like anyone except... Except what? Except Grandpa Thomas's wife. In the pictures. She looks exactly like me. Long pause. That's your imagination, Madison. It's not. We have the same... You have recessive genes. That's all. You're being paranoid. I'm not paranoid, This is exactly the kind of thinking we're worried about, when you fixate on things that aren't there. My father's voice, smooth, gaslighting me at 16. I skipped ahead. File 4, August 2021. A different voice, male, older. I appreciate your concern, Mr. Howell, but without documentation. I have documentation. My father. She had a psychiatric incident last year, hospitalized. I'm worried about the children's safety. What kind of incident? Threatened to harm herself. The police were called. She was placed on a 72-hour hold. A lie. That's not what happened. But he was telling it like fact. I see, the other voice said. Superintendent. Had to be. And you think she's a danger in the classroom? I think she's unstable, and I think if you quietly encourage her to resign, I'll make another donation to the district. 15,000. Cash. For the music program you're trying to save. Pause. That's a significant amount. It's an investment in safety. I'd need parent complaints. Documentation. I'll provide 3 by the end of the week. Already drafted. Just need signatures. Mr. Howell, It feels like protecting children. Are you in or out? Another pause. I'll review the complaints when you send them. The recording ended. I played it again. Then a third time. They'd fabricated complaints. Bribed the superintendent. Destroyed my teaching career. Because I was asking questions they didn't want answered. I kept listening. File 6. May 2024. 3 months before Thomas died. I'm dying. Thomas's voice, weaker now. You could hear it. I'm sorry to hear that. My father, not sorry at all. She deserves the truth. She's fine. She doesn't need... She's getting everything. The farm. The money. The evidence. You can't. I already did. Will's finalized. Attorney has it. If you contest it, the recordings go to the police. All of them. You vindictive old... I'm her father. I've failed her for 33 years. I won't fail her now. Silence. She's stronger than all of you, Thomas said. And she'll prove it. The recording ended. I closed the laptop, sat in the dark. He'd known he was dying, spent his last months building a case. Not for a court. For me. The next folder was labeled Photographs. I opened it carefully. The first photo was old, faded. A woman in her 30s, standing in front of this house. This exact house. She had dark hair, wide-set green eyes, a distinctive widow's peak hairline. I'd seen that face before. In the mirror. The back of the photo was labeled in Thomas's handwriting. Catherine Howell, 1986. Age 35, 3 years before she died. I flipped through more photos. Catherine at different ages. 25, 30, 40. In every single one, I was looking at myself. Same bone structure, same eyes, same mouth. The genetic resemblance wasn't subtle, it was overwhelming. There was a reason I didn't look like my father. I wasn't his daughter. I was Thomas's daughter, Catherine's genetic echo. At the bottom of the stack was a photo I didn't expect. Thomas holding a baby. The baby was maybe 6 months old. The photo was dated on the back. May 1992. Thomas was looking at the camera, but his attention was on the baby. The expression on his face was pure love, unguarded, complete. On the back, in his handwriting, my daughter, my Catherine's eyes. I sat there holding the photo. Tears I didn't know I was crying ran down my face. He'd loved me. Completely. Unconditionally. And they'd stolen 35 years of that love. I heard a sound downstairs. Footsteps. I froze. It was 11 at night. We were alone. Or we were supposed to be. Then Lily's voice. Mom? I had a bad dream. I exhaled. Put the photos down. Went to the top of the stairs. Coming, baby. She was standing in the kitchen, her stuffed rabbit under one arm. She'd found it in the moving box. The one she'd had since she was 2. I picked her up. She was getting too big for this, but she let me anyway. What was the dream? We had to leave. And you were sad. We're not leaving, I said. We're staying. This is ours. She nodded against my shoulder. I carried her back upstairs, tucked her in again. Mom? Yeah? I like it here. It feels safe. I kissed her forehead. It is safe, I promise. When she was asleep, I went back to Thomas's room. Back to the safe. There was one more folder. Carson Howell Jr. Evidence file. I opened it. Inside were bank statements. Carson Jr.'s name. Account activity from 2019 to 2023. Withdrawals. Large ones. $28,000 total in cash over 4 years. Next, forged signature. A quitclaim deed dated 2020. My signature. Transferring partial ownership of the farm to Carson Jr., except I'd never signed it. Thomas had documented the forgery. Gotten a handwriting expert's analysis. The expert's conclusion. Signature appears to be traced. Stroke patterns inconsistent with genuine signing. Next, IRS documents. Carson Jr. had underreported $340,000 in income for 2022. Next, scanned checks. $15,000 paid to the school district. $1,000 each to 3 parents. Names blacked out, but the purpose was clear. Thomas hadn't just documented his own case. He'd documented everything, every crime, every lie. At the bottom of the folder was a note. Your brother isn't cruel because he's evil. He's cruel because he's afraid. But fear doesn't excuse theft. Use this however you need. I trust your judgment. They made you think you were broken. You're not. You never were. You're my daughter. And you're stronger than all of them. I closed the folder, put everything back in the safe, closed it, slid the floorboard into place. Then I walked downstairs, made a cup of tea I didn't drink, sat at the kitchen table until sunrise. The next morning, I texted my father for the first time in 2 years. We need to talk. About Grandpa Thomas. About who I really am. The message showed as read at 8:34 a.m. No response. I made breakfast for Lily. Scrambled eggs from the dozen in the refrigerator that Thomas had left. Toast from bread in the freezer. We ate in silence. She could tell something was different, but she didn't ask. After breakfast, I told her I needed to run an errand. Can I stay here? Of course. Just stay inside, okay? Don't go near the barn. Okay. I gave her the tablet. Full charge. Unlimited data plan I was barely affording. She settled into the window seat in her room. I drove 18 miles to a storage facility. Store Right, Chester County. Unit 28. B. The key had been in the safe, taped to the inside of the lid. The facility was clean, climate-controlled. Code at the gate, another code at the unit building. Unit 28B was at the end of a hallway. I unlocked it. Inside was a small space, maybe 10 by 10, and it was full. Boxes, plastic totes, carefully labeled in Thomas's handwriting. Madison, ages 0 to 5. Madison, ages 6 to 10. Madison, ages 11 to 15. I opened the first one. Birthday cards. Dozens of them. Each one addressed to Thomas. Each one sent from me. Ages 6 through 24. Every single one returned. Unopened. My father had been intercepting them, sending them back. Thomas had kept them all. Next box. Drawings, paintings, elementary school artwork. I'd made these at the farm during summer visits. Thomas had saved every single one. Next, a stuffed rabbit. Blue. One ear torn. I'd lost it when I was 10. My mother had told me she'd thrown it away because it was too dirty. Thomas had kept it, repaired it, preserved it. Next box. VHS tapes. 6 of them. Each one labeled with a date and my age. Madison, age 2. First visit to farm. Madison, age 5. Garden planting. Madison, age 7. Birthday. Madison, age 9. Learning to ride bike. Madison, age 11. Last summer, I didn't have a VHS player. Hadn't owned one in 20 years. But I knew what was on those tapes. Memories I'd forgotten. Moments Thomas had kept alive. At the bottom of the unit was a journal, leather-bound, thick. I opened it to a random page. June 15th, 2003. Carson came today. Found out about the videos I'd been recording, the drawings I saved. He said if I contact Madison again, he'll have me declared incompetent. Take the farm. Use the house she loves as leverage. I thought about fighting, hiring lawyers. But he said he'd make it ugly. Drag her into court. Force her to choose sides at 12 years old. I can't do that to her. So I'll wait. I'll save everything. Every card she sends, every photo, every piece of evidence. And one day, when the time is right, I'll give her the truth. Even if that day is after I'm gone. I flipped to the last entry. July 20th, 2025. 3 weeks before he died. I'm dying. The doctors gave me 2 months. I've made my peace with that. I've rewritten the will. Everything goes to her. The farm, the money, the evidence. I've left instructions with Morrison. She has to visit alone. No interference. Carson will be furious. They all will. But by then, I'll be gone, and she'll have everything she needs. I failed her as a father. I let them bully me into silence. But I won't fail her now. She'll understand why I stayed away. She has to. I love you, Madison. I always have. You're my daughter. My Catherine's gift to me. The only good thing I ever made. I'm sorry I couldn't say it while I was alive. But you'll know now. And that has to be enough. I closed the journal, sat on the concrete floor of the storage unit, and for the first time since Thomas died, I cried. Not quiet tears, full sobs, the kind that shake your whole body. He'd loved me. He'd never stopped. And they'd stolen every moment we could have had. I spent 2 hours in that storage unit, going through boxes, reading his journal, understanding finally what had been taken from us. When I got back to the farm, Lily was exactly where I'd left her. Window seat? Tablet? She looked up when I walked in. You okay, Mom? I'm okay. You look sad. I am a little sad, but I'm okay. She went back to her show. I went back upstairs, back to the safe. I pulled out my phone, took photos of everything, the DNA test, the birth certificates, the forged deed, the bank statements, the recording's metadata. Then I searched for attorneys in Philadelphia. Family law. Estate litigation. The first 3 were booked. The 4th answered. Pace Law Group, this is Jennifer. Hi, my name is Madison Howell. I need a consultation. It's about inheritance fraud and identity documentation. Can you give me a brief overview? I just discovered my grandfather was actually my biological father. My family hid it for 35 years. They gaslighted me, destroyed my career, and tried to steal the estate he left me. I have DNA evidence, recorded confessions, and documentation of fraud going back 2 decades. Silence. Ms. Howell, Jennifer said, voice careful. Can you come in tomorrow? I think we need to talk in person. Tomorrow works. 9 a.m.? I'll be there. I hung up. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't have saved. But I recognized the area code. Manhattan. You need to sign paperwork. Dad and I will come by the farm tomorrow. We'll bring everything you need. Carson Jr. I stared at the message. Then I typed back. What kind of paperwork? 3 dots. He was typing. Transfer of assets. You're not equipped to manage property this size. We'll buy you out. Fair price. How much? $400,000. More than generous given the condition. I laughed out loud. Alone in the bedroom. Laughed. The farm is worth $4.2 million. The 3 dots disappeared. Appeared again. Disappeared. Then my phone rang. Carson Jr. I answered. Said nothing. Who told you that? His voice was tight. Grandpa Thomas. Independent appraisal dated June 2024. Want me to read you the serial number? He was senile at the end. You can't trust. I also found the DNA test. Silence. 38 seconds. I counted. I don't know what you think you found. LabCorp, March 2024. Paternity test. Thomas Howell, alleged father. Madison Ann Howell, child. Conclusion. 99.97% probability of paternity. Do you want me to keep going? He hung up. 4 minutes later, my father called. Carson Sr. The man I'd thought was my father my entire life. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. I played it on speaker. Madison, we need to talk about this rationally. You're confused. We can explain everything. Don't do anything rash. We'll be there tomorrow morning. We can discuss this as a family. I deleted the voicemail. Then I texted Jennifer Pace, the attorney. Can we move the meeting to today? It's urgent. They're coming tomorrow. She responded within 2 minutes. 4 p.m. today. I'll make time. The law office was in a converted townhouse in downtown Philadelphia. Old brick. New interior. Jennifer Pace was in her mid-40s, dark hair pulled back, sharp eyes behind frameless glasses. She'd cleared her entire afternoon. I spread everything on her conference table. DNA test, birth certificates, the appraisal, the recordings, the photos, the forged deed, Carson Jr.'s bank statements. She went through it methodically, took notes, asked questions. When did you discover all this? 2 days ago. And they don't know you have copies? Not yet. They know I've found the DNA test. They don't know about the rest. She picked up the recording transcripts, scanned them. This is substantial, she said. Fraud, forgery, possibly bribery and corruption if the school board allegations hold up. Identity fraud, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Can we win? Win isn't the question. The question is what you want. Do you want money? Do you want public exposure? Do you want them in jail? I thought about it. I want them to admit what they did. Publicly. Jennifer nodded. Then we go nuclear. But we do it right. No emotional decisions. Everything calculated. What do I do tomorrow when they show up? Let them come. Record everything. Get them on tape making threats or admitting to facts. Pennsylvania is a one-party consent state. You can legally record without their knowledge. And then? Then we send them a settlement demand. Give them 72 hours to respond. When they refuse, and they will, we file a lawsuit. And we send copies of the evidence to every journalist covering family law in Philadelphia. How much? For settlement? Emotional distress? Lost wages from your teaching job. Punitive damages. I'd start at $1.2 million. They won't pay it. No. But that's not the point. The point is forcing them to choose between writing a check or watching their reputations burn. I looked at the documents spread across the table, at the evidence Thomas had spent years collecting. Do it, I said. They arrived at 8:42 the next morning. Black Mercedes SUV, all three of them. Carson Sr., my mother, Carson Jr. I'd sent Lily to stay with Derek's sister for the day. Family stuff, I told her. She didn't argue. I was waiting in the kitchen. Phone in my pocket. Recording app already running. They didn't knock. Just walked in. Madison, my father started. Voice measured. Controlled. We need to talk about what you found. What did I find? My mother stepped forward. Her face was doing the thing it always did. Manufactured concern. Tears ready to deploy. Sweetheart, you're confused. The DNA test. Tests like that can be wrong. Thomas was sick at the end. Paranoid. He probably sent off the wrong sample. The sample was from my baby tooth, the one he saved from when I was 6. There's a letter explaining it. She stopped. Recalibrated. Carson Jr. crossed his arms. Look, even if the test is accurate, and I'm not saying it is, it doesn't change anything. Carson Sr. is your legal father. That's what matters. I looked at my father. At Carson Sr., the man who'd spent my entire life gaslighting me. You're not my father. You're my half-brother. He flinched. Just slightly, but I saw it. That's not. Thomas Howell is my biological father. You are his son. That makes us siblings. Not father and daughter. Legally, my birth certificate was falsified. I have the original. Father listed as unknown. The second one, with your name, was filed 6 months later. That's fraud. My mother started crying. Real tears this time. Madison, please. We were trying to protect you. The scandal. Protect me. My voice stayed calm. Cold. You had me committed to a psychiatric hold under false pretenses. You bribed my superintendent to get me fired. You told everyone I was mentally unstable and a danger to my own child. Carson Jr. stepped forward. You can't prove any of that. I have recordings. 8 of them. Dating back to 2003. Including the one where Carson Sr. threatens Thomas. The one where you discuss reinforcing the narrative about my mental state. And the one where Carson Sr. offers the superintendent $15,000 cash to push my resignation. Silence. My father's face was purple. If you pursue this, you'll what? Have me committed again? On what grounds? I have a lawyer. I have a forensic accountant reviewing the estate. And I have documentation of every crime you've committed against me for the past 2 decades. This is extortion. This is consequences. My mother reached for me. I stepped back. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. We never meant. You meant every word, every action. You made a choice 35 years ago, and you've been making that same choice every day since. What do you want? Carson Sr. His voice was hard now, the mask finally dropping. I want you to leave. You have 48 hours. After that, my attorney files a civil suit, and we send copies of the evidence to the press. You wouldn't. Try me. They stood there, 3 people who'd controlled my entire life, watching that control evaporate. We'll fight this, Carson Jr. said. We have lawyers, money. We'll bury you in litigation. You can try, but the DNA test is ironclad, the recordings are authenticated, and the public loves a story about rich families defrauding their children. Your business partners will be very interested to learn about the quitclaim deed you forged, and the IRS will be fascinated by the income you underreported. His face went white. They left in silence. Through the kitchen window, I watched the Mercedes disappear down the driveway. Then I turned off the recording app. 47 minutes of audio. Every threat. Every admission. I sent it to Jennifer Pace with a single message. They came. We're ready. Jennifer moved fast. Within 24 hours, she'd drafted a settlement demand, 12 pages, itemized damages, legal citations, and attached exhibits. The DNA test, the birth certificates, sample audio transcripts. The demand was simple: $1,150,000 in damages. Public written apology published in the Philadelphia Inquirer. Carson Howell Jr. to resign from Howell and Associates Real Estate. Agreement to no contact with Madison or Lily Howell. Settlement to be completed within 60 days. Failure to agree will result in filing of civil lawsuit, criminal complaints with the district attorney regarding fraud and bribery, and release of all evidence to media outlets. You have 72 hours to respond. The letter was sent via certified mail and email on April 8, 2026. Return receipt signed April 9, 2026, at 10:15 a.m. On April 11th, their attorney responded. Ms. Howell's demands are unreasonable and without merit. Our clients deny all allegations. Any attempt to publish defamatory statements will result in immediate legal action. Jennifer read the response and smiled. Perfect, she said. They think we're bluffing. We're not bluffing. No, we're not. On April 18, 2026, we filed the lawsuit in Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas, Madison Howell versus Carson Howell Sr., Eleanor Howell, and Carson Howell Jr. Causes of action: fraud, intentional infliction of emotional distress, forgery, conspiracy, identity fraud. The filing was public record. By April 20th, local media had picked it up. Philadelphia Inquirer. Woman discovers grandfather was actually father. Alleges decades of fraud and abuse. KYW News Radio. Estate battle reveals family secret buried for 35 years. Billy Penn. DNA test exposes inheritance scheme in Chester County. By April 23rd, Carson Jr.'s firm released a statement. Carson Howell Jr. has resigned from Howell and Associates Real Estate, effective immediately, to focus on personal matters. By April 25th, the school board announced an investigation. The board is conducting an independent review of personnel decisions made in 2023, including the resignation of teacher Madison Howell. And on April 28th, their attorney called Jennifer. They wanted to settle. The settlement meeting was held in the same conference room where Thomas's will had been read. Morrison and Klein law offices. Same mahogany table. Same leather chairs. Symmetry. Jennifer sat beside me. Her associate was at her other side, laptop open, recording every word. Across the table, Carson Sr., Eleanor, Carson Jr., and their attorney. A man named Richard Sterling. Expensive suit. Tired eyes. Sterling started. We're here to resolve this matter privately. My clients acknowledge there have been misunderstandings. Misunderstandings? I said. Voice calm. Is that what we're calling 35 years of fraud? Ms. Howell, inflammatory language isn't helpful. Neither is lying on legal documents, or bribing school officials, or forging signatures on property deeds. Sterling cleared his throat. My clients are prepared to offer a financial settlement, $650,000. In exchange, you drop the lawsuit and agree to a mutual non-disparagement clause. No public apology? That's not on the table. Jennifer leaned forward. Then neither is settlement. File the discovery motions. We'll depose each of them under oath. Every recorded conversation becomes part of the public record. Every forged document gets authenticated by the court. And when we win, and we will win, we'll pursue criminal charges separately. Sterling looked at his clients. They looked back. Carson Jr. broke first. This is insane. We're family. You're not my family, I said. You're criminals who happen to share my DNA. My mother started crying again. Madison, please, think of Lily. Do you want her to grow up knowing… Knowing what? The truth? Yes. I want her to know the truth. I want her to know that people who love you don't lie to you for 35 years. And that family isn't about blood. It's about respect. Eleanor put her face in her hands. Carson Sr. finally spoke. What do you want? I want you to admit what you did. In writing. Published where everyone can see it. I want the settlement we demanded. And I want you out of my life. And if we refuse, then I'll see you in court. And every business associate Carson Jr. has will receive copies of the evidence. Every member of your country club will read about the fraud. Every parent at Lily's new school will know what kind of people you are. Sterling tried once more. Ms. Howell, surely we can find common ground. You have 24 hours to accept our terms. After that, the offer is off the table. Jennifer closed her portfolio, stood up. We're done here. We walked out. They agreed on April 29th. Settlement terms: $1,150,000 paid to Madison Howell within 60 days. Public statement to be published in the Philadelphia Inquirer, acknowledging that Madison Howell is the biological daughter of Thomas Howell and that actions taken by the defendants caused significant harm. Carson Howell Jr. has resigned from Howell and Associates Real Estate. Mutual no-contact agreement. Case dismissed with prejudice. The public statement ran on May 2, 2026. We acknowledge that Madison Howell is the biological daughter of Thomas Howell, 1951 to 2025, and that we engaged in actions over the past several decades that caused her significant emotional and financial harm. We apologize to Ms. Howell and respect her right to privacy as she moves forward with her life. I bought a copy of the paper. Framed it. Not for revenge. For Lily. One day, when she's older, she'll ask why we don't see Grandma and Grandpa. And I'll show her this. And I'll tell her the truth. That family is something you build, not something you're born into. The weeks that followed were a strange kind of limbo. Jennifer had warned me that families with money rarely go quietly. Sure enough, my phone lit up with unknown numbers and blocked texts. One particularly nasty voicemail from Carson Sr. threatened to expose my mental health history to anyone who would listen. I saved every message and forwarded them to Jennifer. Pennsylvania law made things complicated. The state requires all-party consent for recordings, but Thomas had smartly captured several calls while he was visiting relatives in New Jersey, a one-party consent state. Jennifer said the rest of the evidence, bank records, forged deeds, the independent appraisal, and the DNA test, was more than enough for civil court. Still, I barely slept. Lily picked up on my tension and started crawling into my bed again, something she hadn't done since she was 5. "Mommy, are the bad dreams gone yet?" she'd ask. I'd pull her close and answer, "Almost, baby. We're almost free." Slowly, the fear turned into something steadier. Quiet, determined hope. I began sketching renovation plans on the back of old envelopes and researching organic farm leases for the extra acreage. For the first time in years, the future didn't feel like something I had to survive. It felt like something I could build. The money came through in late June. $1,150,000. After Jennifer's fees and taxes, I had $980,000 in the bank. The farm was appraised again. Market value confirmed at $4.2 million. I decided not to sell. Not yet. Instead, I leased it to an organic farming collective for $3,000 a month. They'd work the land. I'd keep the house. I used $180,000 to renovate. New roof. New foundation. New kitchen. The house Thomas had loved became the house Lily and I would make a home. I created a scholarship fund in Thomas and Catherine's names. $50,000 a year. for children of single parents, for kids who'd been told they weren't smart enough, stable enough, good enough. Kids like me. I started teaching again, not at a school. Private tutoring from home. 6 students. Kids who needed someone to believe in them. And in late July, Lily and I drove to the cemetery where Thomas was buried. I'd never been allowed to attend the funeral. It would upset the family. Now we stood at his grave. Simple headstone. Nothing fancy. Thomas Howell, 1951 to 2025. Beloved Father. Lily read it. Looked up at me. Was he your dad? Yes. So he's my great-grandpa? For real? For real. She placed a sunflower on the grave, Thomas's favorite. I wish I'd known him, she said. Me too, baby. Me too. We stood there for a long time. The sun was setting. The cemetery was quiet. I pulled out the last letter, the one I'd saved, the one Thomas had left with his attorney, to be given to me after the settlement. I opened it there, at his grave, with Lily beside me. Madison, if you're reading this, you won. I knew you would. You were always my daughter. From the moment you were born. I saw Catherine in your eyes, her strength, her intelligence, her capacity to love even when the world gave her reasons not to. I'm sorry I couldn't say it out loud while I was alive. I'm sorry I let them bully me into silence. I thought I was protecting you, but silence doesn't protect anyone. It just lets the lies grow. The farm is yours. The money is yours. The truth is yours. Use them well. You deserved better than me. You deserved a father who stood up for you, who fought for you. I failed at that. But I hope the farm tells you what I couldn't. I hope every document, every recording, every saved drawing and birthday card tells you that you were loved, completely, unconditionally. You are my daughter. My Catherine's gift to me. The only good thing I ever made. I love you. I always have. Live the life they tried to steal from you. Dad. I folded the letter, put it in my pocket. Lily took my hand. You okay, Mom? Yeah, baby. I'm okay. We walked back to the car. The sun was fully set now. Stars coming out. I looked back once. At the grave. At the man who'd loved me enough to give me the truth. Thank you, I whispered. And then we drove home. To the farm. To the house that was ours. 6 months later, the DA's office called. They'd reviewed the evidence. The school board case was being referred for criminal investigation. The superintendent had resigned. The parents who'd been paid to file false complaints had been identified. Carson Sr. was being investigated for fraud and bribery. Carson Jr. was being audited by the IRS. I told the DA I'd testify if needed. But I didn't need them to convict. I'd already won. Lily was thriving. New school. New friends. She told them, my great-grandpa left us a farm. She was proud of that. I planted a garden. Sunflowers, tomatoes, herbs, things Catherine had grown, things Thomas had loved. And on quiet nights, after Lily was asleep, I'd sit on the porch. The one we'd repaired. The one that wasn't sagging anymore. And I'd think about the family that told everyone I was unstable because I saw the truth they were desperate to hide. The family that thought a DNA test, a few recordings, and a rambling old man's word wouldn't be enough to destroy them. They were wrong. The truth was enough. It was always enough. And when it finally came out, I wasn't the one who shattered. They were. I stood there, in the house my father left me, with the daughter I was raising to never accept lies, and I was finally, completely, free. If you've been gaslit, manipulated, or told you're crazy for seeing what's right in front of you, you're not alone. Trust what you see. Document everything. And remember, the people who try hardest to convince you you're broken are usually the ones trying to hide their own crimes. This is Madison Howell. This is my story. And I'm done being silent.